My love of soul music came from, firstly, bands like the whole Philadelphia sort of all stars. So you talk about the Teddy Pendergrass, the OJs. But I must admit, the real main band for me when I was growing up was Earth, Wind and Fire. The sort of middle to late 70s, going into the early 80s. For me, it was the cream of the crop with the music that they were doing. And I just loved how catchy their lyrics were. And I just loved the shows they put on and the glitter. And they had the whole Egyptian thing going on. I just loved it. Second Image was a strange tale at the beginning. I have to first give props to my brother, Junior, or Sam Bromfield. He was the main driving force for me. He's sort of 18 months older than me. And he was working with Light the World at the time. And it was Light the World that got him involved with playing the bass guitar. And Tubbs, the bass player of Light the World, taught my brother. And he then brought that enthusiasm back to the Bromfield household. And I was a drummer in those days. I started sort of playing with the drums. And there we were, in Wood Green, North London, in our shed, drum and bass. It was beautiful, and I'm sure the neighbours didn't think that, but we thought it was beautiful. And we were keen skateboarders at that time, more so with my brother, and he was skateboarding with a gentleman called Frank Burke, who was very talented himself, bit of guitar, bit of trumpet, bit of this, and great vocalist. So it was kind of me, my brother, Junior, and Frank in the shed. And then it went from there. We got a gentleman called Remo Fury, who was on keyboards, and a guy called Ozzy, who was on guitar, and then we got Simon Eyre on guitar. And we just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. But we didn't really know what to do. So me and my brother came up with this idea of, well, let's go and do a demo. So we did a demo, and let's go down to Radio London and give our demo to Robbie Vincent and see if he'll play it on the Robbie Vincent show, which was the go-to show on a Saturday afternoon stroke morning at that time. So we did. And we got on the tube, and very naive, thinking that we could give a cassette and he would play it. And in those days, it was either vinyl or reel-to-reel. They would play it on the radio, not cassette. So we rang them up. What time does he normally come? Well, he comes early. We went there, met him in the car park. I mean, that would be stalking now. That would be stalking, and he'd be running. But we met him, and he was very nice. He took our song, and we went home very excited. You know, he seemed very positive, and we listened to the show, and listened, and listened, and he never played it, and we were upset because we told the whole band, and. After the show, we had a phone rang on the home phone. No mobiles, on the home phone. And obviously I'd spoken to the band, told them, well, he didn't play it and whatever. And a gentleman on the phone said, hi, this is Robbie Vincent. I just want to know, do you have any management? And I remember at the time saying, oh, Weston, you're not funny. I won't tell you what expletives I used, but they weren't nice. And I said, it's bad enough anyway. It's not funny. You're not funny. He said, no, this is Robbie Vincent. You met in the car park today and you left your number, and I really liked the song, and I want to know if do you have any management? Well, from that day, literally 4 weeks after, we were signed to Polydor Records, and we were a recording artist. So I want to say, for the record, there's lots of talented artists and lots of talented singers and whatever, but luck does play into it as well. It was just the best time ever. I was 17 when we first got together, and it was 1979. So I was very, very, very young, and so it all happened at the right time for me. But we were so in love with everything American in those days, music-wise. So we called ourselves Stateside. And when we got the deal with Pollard, they went, we can't be having that. It's States, So we kept them coming back and forth. We need a new image. What's going to be this second image of ours? We need this image. We just couldn't get. What's going to be our second image? Because and then the rest is history. We ended up just calling ourselves Second Image. And one of the great things I loved with being with Polydor was that we were left alone. And so the first album really is what we felt at that time. In fact, I've got a copy of it here. It's the first album, imaginatively called Just Second Image. And this particular one had a lot of our classics on, Can't Keep Holding On, Special Lady, Star, those kind of times. And we were left alone. So, like for instance, there's a track on here called Life Is What You Make It, and halfway through it, it goes into Lovers Rock. Now, I can tell you now, Polydor didn't really understand where we were coming from, but our people, our kind of music, and they really got that at the time. And so that was fabulous, and we had 4 fabulous years with Second Image, and done a lot of gigs. The first ones were hard because you're establishing yourself. Also, they didn't really have any, what we called in those days, dance department. Dance music really meant soul music in those days, having a dance department, because dance meant clubs, and clubs meant discos, and discos was soul in our arena anyway. So we would be marketed with bands like T-Rex and Slade, and so obviously we wasn't doing well in the Gallup stores and on early days, getting on top of the pops, etc. But we sold a lot of records. And we sold a lot of records from non-Gallup songs, non-Gallup shops, which basically meant market stalls, lots of other record shops that were just specialist shops. And if you were just specialist shops, you didn't really get the Gallup thing to be counted in the national charts. We were stuck with this conundrum. How are we going to get noticed? How are we going to get our product, our sound out there? Then we found out that Freddie Starr, who was a huge sort of star, pardon the pun, at the time, was doing this talent show. And talent shows in those days were maybe Huey Green's Opportunity Knocks. There was New Faces, where Lenny Henry was discovered. But this particular one gave you your own show, your own sort of special if you won it. And we thought, wouldn't it be great? There's no way can we get in it, because we've got a record deal already, even though we're not getting where we need to go. Then we read the sort of submission, sort of rules, and it didn't matter whether you had a record contract, as long as you hadn't been in the sort of top of pops or the national charts. So we entered ourselves into it. We thought, look, it's BBC, it's national TV. In those days, BBC was the only TV station to go national, so when it went on BBC, everyone saw it. When ITV had regional, LWT, Tyne Tees, Yorkshire Television, etc. So we thought if we just get one, it was 2 heats. It was one, if you won that, you went into a finals heat. If you won that, you won the whole thing. We said, if we just get on BBC, do that one song, that'll be it. So we did it. We won that show. Went into the winners show. We did that. We won that as well. So there we were, we got 2 spots on the TV, and it changed everything. It really did change everything, because people got to see us, and we suddenly were recognised for what we could do, and it was fabulous from that point on, from at least a visual aspect, and being able to see Second Image other than live gigs. Am I wasting my time if it's only a game of waiting?
your other time on television, so to speak, the Lenny Henry show? Tell us
Well,
about that.
Lenny Henry, hi Lenny, is a, in my day there used to be this ad called The Secret Lemonade. Secret Lemonade. Well, Lenny Henry is a secret second image fan, and he's always been one. And he actually asked us and found out who our management was and asked us to sort of star or be the main act on his show. He always used to have some type of act on there. And not only that, he didn't just want to say second image. He actually starred in it with us, and he said he wanted the beginning of the song to be like he's in a basement in Brixton with his Delbert Wilkins character. And so he's going to film himself walking along the street in Brixton, going into this basement, which of course was really the BBC studio. And there was this band, and he's like, right, come on, and there was some people, and it was real fun. It was really, real fun. But he's a real nice guy, and he invited us down to the show when he actually filmed it in front of the live audience. And it was great to see the live audience and get down. So that was fabulous. And after that, more TVs followed. We did the Rod Hull and Emu show, which again in those days was a big show. We did Saturday Superstore. We did Black on Black. We did, oh my goodness, so many different, Malibu Disco Dancing Championships, which Lee John hosted. So it was great. That's the first time I really had a good chance to chat with Lee John in between breaks, etc. So TV work followed, and Second Image began to get a bit of a name for themselves as a good band that also danced as well as sang.
We're gonna sing and shout. We're gonna dance it all the way to daylight. I said we're going out, and we'll be rocking till the morning light. You got a friend, you don't want to be alone. I'll be your partner when it's going on, unless you let it slip away. We're gonna sing and shout.
Can you tell us a bit more about some of the acts that you worked with?
While I was with Second Image, we were so fortunate, and one of the biggest acts that just jumps into my mind when you asked that question was Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. In 1982, he came as a part of his European tour. When he came to the UK, he played the Hammersmith Odeon, and we were booked through our agency at that time, Concord agency, to be support. Well, they loved us so much, and we got on with them so well, that when they came back in 1983, they actually asked for us and said, look, why don't we share the bill together? Frankie Beverly was
amazing.
such an absolutely, I'm talking, when I say was, I'm thinking about as I felt at that time. Just an amazing person. The band was fantastic, but him as an individual, he just was so kind and so welcoming, and we were just young guys, and he welcomed us. I remember there was one spot, they obviously had a huge changing room with it, whatever, and we had a smaller room, and he was like, no, come in here, man, from my perspective, I just remember going in there, it was like a hog roast and woohoo! He goes, no man, grab something to eat. He was just such a lovely man, and he even allowed Second Image to share heading on the Hammersmith Odeon billboard, whatever you call it, at the front. It's an iconic picture in the program. It shows sold out Maze featuring Frankie Beverly with special guest Second Image, not support, and
That's nice.
That was just, he didn't need to do that, and that was fabulous. Also, Second Image worked with the Jam and actually used our brass section on Town Called Malice. I said that was also nice. The second album, Strange Reflections, with MCA Records, we moved from Polydor to MCA, and although I loved my time with MCA, I did prefer it with Polydor, I got to admit, because I think when we was with Polydor, we really had more control over what we did. With MCA, they were okay, they still were happy with what we were doing, but they had more input, which I suppose was a good thing. At least they cared.
Yep.
They didn't just leave us alone.
Yep.
And some great songs still on here, but I think as time moved on, you could see that although more people were still getting attracted to us fan-wise, you could see that we were growing, and I think in the end it was going to be inevitable that we went our separate ways. One of the things I love also about our time with MCA and doing the Strange Reflection album is we got to work with the one and only Rod Temperton from Heatwave fame. He wrote classics like Always and Forever, but he also wrote some fantastic songs for Michael Jackson, Rock With You, but the most famous song he wrote for Michael Jackson was Thriller. And the reason I mention this is because he literally left the Thriller album with Quincy Jones to fly to the UK to work with Second Image and write a song. And the song was called Lights Out, which he wrote and produced with us. Now, I'm telling you now, I mean, this guy's written some fantastic songs. And from a young songwriter like myself, singer-songwriter, I have to attribute some of the of my writing prowess to Rod Temperton. He really knows how to throw out a catchy lyric. You know, right now you put Rock With You on and it's still going to be, everyone's singing it. Thriller, well, we all know about that. So I was learning, working with these masters, learning all the time. And with Second Image, people look back at Second Image and think, wow, what a great band. I don't know how you didn't get it bigger. And we seem to be one of those bands that people remember the songs, but not necessarily remember which bands sang those songs. And I really want to sort of make people realise that we didn't just have one lead singer. I wasn't the lead singer of Second Image. Georgie B wasn't. We had 3 singers. We had Weston Foster, who also produced my album now, with Frank Burke, and we had Georgie B, or Georgie Bromfield, as I was there. And to be quite honest, Weston did most of the singing initially with Second Image. And I was running like a year younger than him in age, so I was always looking up and thinking, oh, that's what I want to do. And so, I always like to put that record straight. I never go out and say I was the lead singer of Second Image. I was one of the lead singers, one of 3, and Second Image, we're known for great songs, but not necessarily known as a band and remembered. And sometimes it's sad that when I hear people talk about the past and talk about the great bands, Second Image gets missed out, and it just seems that we're the most sort of famous, forgotten band there. That we're remembered, but never stated. We're never put in print as much. Now, I'm not talking about the fans. There's love of Second Image with the fans out there. When I'm talking about the music industry, when they start talking about the 80s and they start talking about Brit funk, jazz funk, we seem to be one of the ones that they forget. They remember The Light of the World and Beggar and Co., which is essentially the same band, really. They remember Central Line. They remember, if you're talking about a bit later, the Lynxes and the Phil Fearons. Earlier, obviously, with Phil Fearons, with Candidate, and they remember those. But Second Image seems to be missed off. And so it's great to have the time here to say exactly how much we did, what we did, and how we did it. As a band, we sold out the Dominion in Tottenham Court Road, and that was no mean feat. The owner of the manager of the Dominion said, "Who are you? Who are you? You sold this out like that. Who are you?" But we played the Royal Albert Hall, sharing the stage with Winston Reedy, Carol Thompson, Janet Kay. So the Lovers Rock and Reggae side was also something we loved as well. So any opportunity we could to sort of merge the two, we would do. So I would encourage people to go to if you've got a vinyl store, because Second Image isn't available on iTunes, or for some reason Universal, who own it, they're not releasing it. So the only way you can get hold of Second Image, really, if you really want to taste, is you need to go vinyl.
So what came after Second Image?
Well, after Second Image, I just needed to sort of take stock for a little bit. I was doing a lot of session work around the globe. I was so in two sections. The session work, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the band and working with artists such as Gene Khan in a UK tour, and also being a part of the band for 2 years with Womack and Womack, and Cecil and Linda. I know Cecil has passed away, as his brother Bobby recently, but that was great, and also broadened my horizons. Working with artists, established artists, is always good. But on the other side, for my personal stuff, I teamed up with my brother for a little bit, and we started a little duo called Over to You. And we did a little video, and we just sort of touching base. We had a single out called Just the Force of Habit. And just to sort of put a toe in the water to see what was what. And it made a little bit of waves, but it didn't really do it. And the record company, again, didn't really know what to do with it. We got signed for a single deal, and it was a possible album deal, but it didn't really work. And it got to the point where you know that pretty quickly, because we had the experience we had with Polydor and MCA. So we did promote it a little bit, but it was. I think after the first single and the record company wasn't really involved, we felt if they're not going to put their 100% in it, we feel it's best to back away. So we sort of split as friends and went on from there.
Tell us a little bit more about Unknown Hero and what was behind it.
Well, this followed myself and my brother, Junior Sam Bromfield. After we moved away from Over to You, we had an idea of doing a charity single. At that point, there was some really huge famine relief going on in Somalia. And we wanted to prove that it's not only the big stars that can try to give something back, so the Elton Johns and Michael Jacksons and doing sort of Band-Aid and things like that. So we went about trying to find some up-and-coming singers and musicians, putting together and see if we can put a charity single out. But let's see if we can do it properly. So we got hold of Oxfam and asked them what do we need to do and how do we need to do this properly. They gave us a special charity number, explained what we need to do. We started our own record label called Donate, it's D-O-N, the letter 8, and we liaised with Oxfam and said, look, we want to do this, we want to get people involved. How can we, when we want to market this song, and we want to put it out, what can we do? So they said, leave it with us, let's have a little think about it. While I did that, we elicited so many different people to get involved, and it was amazing how many people gave their time and effort for nothing. I remember myself making sandwiches for the video shoot for everybody, to feed everybody. And Carlton Studios down in Maidavale, they gave their time for nothing, their editing time. Everyone mucked together and we did a lovely video. And by the time we finished all that, Oxfam said, look, what's going to be the price of each single? What's up with the price? Well, to be quite honest, if that's the price of your single, by the time you sort of put that through the charity, each one of those singles would basically feed like a family for 2 weeks. And we said, why can't we just put that on the 12-inch? So people know that when they buy this, it's exactly what happened. And like they say, Ron Seal, that's exactly what it said on the tin. That is exactly what we did.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And here it is for the youngsters. This is what vinyl looks like. Like a huge CD, which you can play both sides. There it is, Donut Records. This was released in 1981. And it basically says, buying this record means that Oxfam will feed someone in Somalia for 2 weeks. Rather say, chuck all our names on it, we just called ourselves the Unknown Heroes, and the song was called Give a Little Peace. And I want to give my respect for the Unknown Heroes on this, so I'm actually going to read it off the 12-inch, and it says, special thanks to the Unknown Heroes are Joey Malcolm, Richard Bodkin, Elena Dennis, Sam Junior B, Georgie B, Paul Rabiger on guitar, and Jake Telford on sax. All instruments by Georgie B and Sam Junior Bromfield. So that was amazing because we ended up selling and giving and raising about £120,000. And you know, there's not really much I can say about that.
You must have felt very proud to be able to be part of that.
And sometimes you need to look back. When you're going through it, I suppose you don't feel it as much. When you look back and you think, So I want to also thank my brother Sam Junior Bromfield, because the initial idea was his, and then we both took it together, and we worked very hard to get that done. Never taken any money, not a penny, and just goes to show you don't have to be huge, you don't have to be Elton John or Phil Collins to want to do something.
On St George's Day, the 23rd of April 2015, Groove On Promotions presents Georgie B and the Groove Association live in concert with full 8-piece live band at the world-famous Jazz Cafe, London, Northwest 1, 7PG. Singing tracks off his double #1 album, 3AM. This is a must-attend night out for the soul family. But wait, there's more. Special guest on the night, UK singing sensation Deborah Bell. Ash Selector and James Anthony from the legendary Soul Shack will be on the decks at the Jazz Funkin' After Party. Tickets are £20 from the Jazz Cafe box office, 0844 847 2514, or get yours online from thejazzcafelondon.com. Georgie B, live at the Jazz Cafe on St George's Day. Get your tickets today.